if y'all can see that. Okay, it's okay then. I recognize that like people who might be watching this is not going to be first years and stuff, so I wonder like if anybody has a question. I know it's only one person here, but you know, whatever. Alrighty. I'm just gonna chill for a bit, like 1 more minute, and then I can start. And Maria, feel free to like jump in. I'm like awkward. Alrighty. So I'm gonna start right now. Hi guys. Thanks for viewing this, I guess. Whenever you guys want to. If you guys have been following along with our previous, I guess, videos, they pretty much made the axonometric version of the sticker, and if you guys haven't seen it, then you'll eventually see it. But here is the plan view, or well, the top plan view, and then this is the elevation, and so this is just going to be our reference in case you guys want to like follow along. So I'm just going to keep that over there. But there are several ways in making solids. I guess some of you guys already know that, but I'm just going to go over a few of them. The one way is to type box, literally, and if we wanted to follow, let's actually make a new layer, and we're going to call this, so this is our drawing layer. That's something like, no, oh yeah, this is our drawing. Here, let's make a new layer, and this layer is going to be called our masses. And I like to organize my thing based off of layers and sub-layers. It's a lot easier to navigate things, and when you export and print stuff, it's a lot nicer. So these are just the main blocks. And then I'm going to make another one called placeholder, and you'll see why I call them that. You can change the color like this. I like lavender. That's nice. And then placeholder can be like dark green. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, hello. We're gonna start off, but you guys probably already know how to make boxes, but I'm just going to go over it again in case anybody doesn't know how to make boxes. There are these settings up here when you type box, right? In every command, there's always settings up here, so you might want to like play around with that and check those. You can either do diagonal, which you literally just take the diagonal of one, and then you would do the other diagonal like that. So you're going based off of the diagonal. Another way to do it is 3 points, and I prefer this way in case you have like a lot of like angles and things like that. If you needed to make things that were not necessarily orthogonal, but another way to do it is one of my favorite ways is I'm just gonna like real quick introduce Grasshopper. We're not going to go over a lot of it, but if you guys are probably like in first or second year, you guys probably got introduced to it real quick. Oh no. Okay, so when you double click in the Grasshopper section, you are basically inputting an element in there or a component, and then each component has like these little, let's say, key holders, and then you're supposed to put in these little keys or like nodes, that's what they call it. And if you guys know a little bit of programming, it'll be like a piece of cake to y'all, but if you don't, that's fine. So if you want to think about how you make a solid or an object on here, you basically have, if like we're going really basic, you have a rectangle, right? You take that rectangle, you make it planar, so you can type planar surface, and then you can extrude that. So we do extrude surface, extrude surface. There we go. And then you can extrude it as ever, like however high you want it to be. Just going to be 1 inch or so, right? But that is the same concept in Grasshopper. And so to translate that, what you can do is you can double click the area in the space that you have it over here, and then we'll type rectangle. You want to do this one, not this one. This there are two versions of it. This one is just create a rectangle on a plane, and then this one is containing like a collection of rectangles. You just want to make it on a plane. So we're gonna put that little component here, and that's how it looks like. This is it. It pops up whenever you have it selected. It'll turn out to be green and stuff. And then the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna put in a slider. So you can just type in, you double click the area and you type in number slider, right? And then what's nice about this is when you right click it, you can do edit, and then you can get like really specific points to it. And I think I'm going to do maximum is 2. Yeah, there you go. And then our value is just going to be 2. Okay, this one, if you guys know a little bit of programming, this would make sense. But this is like integers, and these are just basically like set numbers, no decimal points. Floating points, like it's a decimal and it's floating, so just think about it like that. And then these, you don't really have to worry about those. It's nice that you can set the minimum and maximum ranges of like this slider, and I'm going to tell you why this is like a really cool tool. So we're going to set that over here, and then we're going to add if you don't really want to do that whole process, you can also just type out the number that you want, so 1.5, and then it automatically makes the slider for you. So we're going to attach these to the X and then to the Y, and then you can see it's already making a rectangle over here, but since like we don't have it like as like, we're selecting it as a total when we make it, so it selects the plane, it also selects the rectangle itself, it selects, you know, other things about it. So what next we're going to make is we're going to double click and we're going to type in boundary surface. Boundary surfaces is basically the planar surface, the same way that I made like I made the planar surface based off the curve, right? And so since we already made the curve right here, which is the rectangle, we can just take that and we bring it over here, and wow, we have a planar surface. So now the next part of that is to extrude it, and that's literally, you double click this space and you type extrude. And that should be the first thing that comes up. Extrude surfaces along a surface. A vector, sorry. You can see that there are 2 components here that is needed for this element. There's the bases, which is that planar surface that we have over here. And so we could just bring that over here. But then it's not showing up anything because we also need a direction. And it says right underneath here, you can see the extrusion direction, empty vector parameter. What you can do with that one is, I'm just going to straight up type it on there. We're going to type 1 because based off of our little drawing over here, that base, this one right here, is supposed to be 1 inches high. So I'm going to type 1 and we're going to put it right there. Oh, wait. Uh-oh, wait. Sorry, this is a vector. Okay. So you can't necessarily do that. You have to make sure you guys are looking at what exactly is being put on there and what it needs. And so what we're going to type is called unit Z. Where did you go? Yeah, unit Z. The reason why we're doing unit Z is because it sets the direction of it as in the Z direction, but at the same time, we can do this one by factor of 1, and then we can just right click this. We can also disconnect whatever is connected to it, and then we could just connect this one to there, and then whoa. We made it. That was fairly tedious. I know there's a better way of doing it. So a way to like hide that, you can just like press your mouse thingy, the part of the mouse, and then you just press this one, disable preview and stuff. Or you can just select all of it, and then you can right click, and we're not going to actually bake it, just kidding. Another way to do it is quite literally, so when you go into the Rhino portion, right?
Jolene,
yes?
So sorry, do you mind explaining baking for people who have no experience about Rhino?
Okay, yeah, so.
Just like why it's important to bake?
Yes, okay, yeah. So here, let me preview this and we're gonna turn it on. So when you have it over here, right, it's just like, think of it as like a placeholder. It's there, but it's not necessarily, it's like a preview or some sorts. When you bake it, you're quite literally like, it's like you're putting it in an oven of some sorts. And so when we bake it, right, you can right click it, you press bake, and then it's gonna show up these two things. It's gonna show up all your layers. That's why it's always a good idea to make your layers before you bake it, per se. So that's why I'm gonna put it in placeholder. Okay, so all of a sudden I can select this, I can move it around, but at the same time there's this portion over here that's already like set. And so if you really wanted to, you know, you can bake it again. Okay, whoa. Oh, that's pretty. Anyway, so that's one way to make a box in Grasshopper. But if you guys remember, another way of making a box is quite literally just typing box and making it and extruding it. And that is what we're going to do. So we're going to double click. We can type box. And then I like to do this one, the 2 points. And if you remember, how we did it was we had the diagonals and then another diagonal, right? And so we're going to set those 2 points by, we're going to type point, and we're going to type point again. So we have 2 points, but we need a, like, they're just placeholders. They're just components, and we haven't really assigned anything to it. So what you can do is you can right click like these little placeholders, and then you can set 1 point. So point A is going to be right here. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete this. Yeah, that's good. And then we're going to do that the same. Here, let's go back. We're going to do the same way with this point over here. So we're going to right click it. We're going to go to set 1 point, and we're going to set it to that top corner right here. And so if we delete these, we can set the top corner one. And you can see that like it's selected over there. We can bring it to point B, and then we're going to do that with point A as well. And all of a sudden, whoa, it put it over there. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And then you can quite literally just bake that one. The reason why I like the top one more than the bottom one is because this one over here, if let's go over here, you can experiment with forms in different places, and you can go even more detail to it. I'm not going to do it in this episode or whatnot, but isn't that cool? Like you can always just like experiment with things. So that's an intro to Grasshopper. We're going to go back to our little tutorial over here, and we're going to move this one right there. Okay, cool. So our next portion is making these little like gabled roofs and the block right underneath it. And so for now we're going to make the block, and that's the same way that we were doing it before. You know, you just have this spot, and then you set the height to be 0.75, as you can see from right here. And we're going to press enter. Now we're going to make the gabled part. And so a really easy way of just doing that is to split face. And we're going to select the face that we want to split, and we're going to make that axis. And then these are based off of the midpoints. And I hope that y'all can see it down here, but there's like a bunch of selections down here. You can turn on ends. This is when your it's basically what's your mouse is going to snap to. So I like having my set points this way. It's kind of being hidden down there, but it set like a midpoint is set there. So we're gonna have that, and we're gonna click it again just to set the axis. Oh, wait, okay. There we go, and enter. Cool, cool, cool. So we have this, but we can't necessarily get that unless you hit Control Shift and you hold that. So if you hold Control Shift and then you press that one like split point that you have, what you can do is you can do move, and then there's this little, like, remember when I said about like the icons? Oh, sorry, the points up here. If you press vertical, yes, you can press any point on here and it's just going to move in the Z direction. See, isn't that cool? And then we're going to move it. Let's see, 1 minus 0.75, 0.25, and enter. And then that is it. You have your gable. And then I'm not going to do that again. What I can always do is type in mirror, and then you just basically create the axis that you're mirroring, and it makes that. I like Rhino and I like Grasshopper a lot because it really automates and it speeds up a lot of production and things like that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this little pyramid part over here. And so we're just going to start off with a box again. This is not the same as a gabled roof because it's a pyramid. It goes inwards. And so we're going to make this height from the top there is 0.25. So 0.25. And then I'm going to make these placeholder lines. And you'll see why I called it placeholder. Think of them as temporary almost. There's something that you could delete afterwards when things get started. Like, it's just to prevent any sort of like convolution. So I think I should probably explain what I just did. So I took these lines and I extruded it. You can use the gumball, but if you don't have gumball, you can just try extrude curve, and it extrudes it as much as how much you want it to be, and you can just delete that. So I'm going to bring these down here so that way I can split this into those little like corner quadrants. There are two ways I could do this. One way is more tedious than the other. The first way, which is this tedious one, is to type split, and then if you have the object that you want to split already selected, you can just select the ones that you want to split. Now the problem with this one is that it creates these surfaces, but it's not closed. How you would close it is by making another, like, there are many ways of doing it, but you can split this one and then the cutting object be, oh no, not that, those on the top, and then you would just delete those over the one underneath it. You'll delete it too, but you can just take these and you could join them, and then it creates a closed one, and that's really tedious. Another way of doing it is cap. When you type cap, it's going to do the same thing, but the problem with that is it only has to be with planar surfaces.
Jolene, how about you, like, I don't know if you're going to go in this direction, but there's like one that's my favorite, which is Boolean Two Objects.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's actually what I was gonna
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so another way that Maria stated, actually, here, we're gonna take our curves again, we're gonna extrude them upwards. We're gonna delete those. We're gonna take these and we're gonna bring them down so that they're intersecting. Boolean, when you do, yeah, you can Boolean Two Objects. I actually like doing Boolean split. It does the same deal, except like Boolean Two Objects, it makes it into these two objects, whereas Boolean split, it's like splitting it. Boolean Difference, I guess you guys already know that from Boolean Cube, so woo.
The thing about Boolean Two Objects is actually you select the two objects and then it'll let you click through all of the different variations that all of the Boolean functions give you. So it'll show you what the union is, it'll show you what the difference is, it'll show you what the split is, and it'll show you what the intersection is. Oh. So it's nice if like you're not entirely sure which one it is. Like Boolean different and Boolean intersection sometimes gets confusing and you're like, wait, no, it wasn't intersection, it was difference. Or no, it wasn't intersection, it was split. So if you just do Boolean two objects, you can just click through until you find the variation you want and then you press enter.
Oh, that's dope. Actually, I was just like go through it. So yeah, I'm a third year, guys. Hello. We're all learning this together. That's fun. So I'm gonna try the Boolean. Let's actually test that out since we have time. Select the that you want to subtract from. I'm going to subtract from this one. Boop. To subtract with, and I'm going to do these. Boop. Whoa. Okay, that's cool. So now you guys know I experimented it with y'all. I'm going to do Boolean split because these are the cutting objects. And then I'm going to delete these placeholders and I'm going to take those. So the next part is making that gabled part over here. And so with the placeholder, I'm going to do the box again, but going up here to like the top, you can do 3 points. I'm going to set these, and then I'm going to have these two bottom corners, and then the top, since it it convenes at the very top, you know, just make them right here and then extrude it outwards like that. Now the problem is that if you try to, it just gets in the way. So what I like to do is you select the object, you type hide, and it hides it for you. So what you can do with this one is that you can do Boolean difference. So using the same way that Maria was sitting with us, if you do the Boolean difference, then all of a sudden you have your thingy. Now, if you want to show all the objects that have been hidden, you just type show. We're going to do that with this one as well. So we're going to do hide. And then we're going to do the same way, box 3 points, or instead of going all the way up here, you can just, to automate it, just type P. And then we're going to go here, here, and then we're going to extrude that over there. Okay, and then the same way that we'll do it. Boolean difference. And there we go. So we're going to show those two over here. Now the cool thing about this, so if you guys notice, sometimes whenever you're like super not zoomed in and then you try to zoom in, it's like doesn't let you, or like when you're like too close to something and then like it gets kind of hard, you can just go to set view, and then this zoom selected, the one like the magnifying glass with like the intersecting things, you just go like that and it automatically zooms into it. So that's super helpful. Now we can't do a mirror with this one, because if you try to do that, if you just by looking at it, it'll look like that. That's kind of dumb. So what you can do is array polar. Yeah. So this basically, it's, if you think of like an array, but like making it polar. So it's just the same. So we're going to mark its axis, and that's number of items. We're going to make 2 actually, because you have one of them, the first one that you start off with. You can't have 1 because what's the point of doing an array, right? So we're going to make just 2. Angle. We're going to start off right here, and we're going to go here, and we're going to press enter. And there we go. Woo! That's pretty cool. And so these are all separated. What's nice about that is you can actually just do Bullion Union. That makes them together, but if you can see, their iso curves are kind of still like marked. Their edges are still marked by like the iso curves, or well, they're not actually iso curves, but I like calling them that. So what you can do with this is merge all faces, and that will make any surface. So if you try to like see underneath it, it's gone. Woo! So we're gonna move that back. Move back to that corner. There we go. So this next part is this little, like, if you can remember our building, it has the little columns at the very top, intersecting with that space that kind of marks like the light of the atrium. So we're going to make another box, going based off of these dimensions. So actually, let's go main block. Yeah, main block. And then this is 0.67. Actually, whenever you guys are showing exact numbers or whatnot, sometimes you won't get like, I like being more exact with my things. If I did 0.67, it wouldn't be exact with the dimensions of it. So I just like going based off of the drawing and building off of that. And so the height, it says 0.33, but I know it as 0.325. And so that's one thing to remember about your units. If you want to change your units, if you're like in millimeters or something, you just literally type units and it'll pull up your preferences or so here. And it shows the inches. You can go into millimeters if you really want to, but let's just stay with inches and change that both with both model and layout. So I'm going to press cancel. So now this part, we're going to have to put it on top of this. And as you can see, it intersects where like the corners are touching. So how are we going to do that? First, we're going to move this over here. Let's just get it where it's the center of it, the center bottom, and we're going to move it at the top. Now, what I like to do, just to make it even more exact, is a thing called, shoot, what is it? Project, sorry, there it is. Project. And so this is where we're going to select the curves that we want to project. And since I'm just going to project it on these, just to show like these two corners, or sorry, yeah, this corner and those two edges. We're gonna use placeholder, and then this is the surface that we want to project it onto, right? Because we're gonna like move it downwards. Press enter, and so as you can see, it made these curves along the whole entire poly surface. And this is the reason why I did placeholder, because once we move this down over here, it's going to be a pain just to select all of those. So what we can do is just, you know, select all. Oh wait, no, sorry. We're just going to delete layer. I don't know why I did that. So we can just delete layer. I'm going to press no, because another thing that you can do is, I wonder if I could get that up there. Oh no, yeah, that's cool. Another thing that you can do is you can go down here and there are these selection points. If you want to turn off, like you could just, let's say, turn off surfaces, turn off poly surfaces and points, and we just want to select curves. Even though like everything is still on about this drawing, I can only select curves, and so just delete that, and then there we go. We just turn everything on again. So we have that, and then we can just do Boolean Difference. And then this is the one that's subtracting from it. And then there we got it. We got a model. Woo! So I always suggest that whenever you have a drawing, start off with the drawing first before you start building your model, because you can start doing really cool stuff like what I'm going to show you. So we're going to go into, whoa. So if you go over here, you can always change it to like the type of view, not the view, but like the type of view that you want. And we want shaded, so it's not all white like that. We're going to select everything and we're going to turn it at 45 degrees. Boop. And then we're going to go into right view, or, you know, actually any sort of view that you prefer. Just sometimes the numbers are going to change. Like you might need to change it to -45, and you'll see why I'm telling you this. So what you can do is you're going to select your form. You're going to type shear. Actually, wait, go back. Go back. We're going to copy this. We're going to make several copies of it. And we're going to select these and we're going to hide them for now, because we're not going to work with those. We can go into right, and then we're going to select the ones that we want, and then we're going to type shear. And then we're going to start from the back corner, And to go in that direction, right, we're going to have to type -45, right? So, because if you do 45 from top view, it's like a really, like that just, doesn't that look like, I don't know, I mean, it's upsetting to me at least. So we're going to do -45, and like sometimes it's like, it's a trial by error. So we're going to try that again, but -45. Boop. So what happens is that in top view, it's a perfect axon. This is kind of cheating. You guys should know how to draw an axon without having to do this, but it really helps when you start getting into more details and, you know, whatnot, as long as you guys understand what an axon is. And what I like to do is Make 2D already makes it for you. I'm going to press Scene Silhouette. We're going to turn that off. Group Output, we're going to turn that off as well, but we're going to keep on the hidden lines. And so it automatically makes it to a Make 2D layer, but what I like to do is just, you know, let's call it Drawing 2. Yeah, okay. So it creates an axon version of it. It's really, really, really lightweight. You can see the things about it, but if we go in perspective, it's all like, it's literally sheared. So let me show, just as a comparison, this is your original building, and then this is the sheared axon one. It's always a good idea to make copies of it and save multiple versions of it in case something were to go wrong and you can't, like, you know, Control Z all the way. So the next version that we're going to do, and we're going to hide that. We're just going to move this in this direction. Right there, and then you can select this one, type move again, and then we're going to select it and move it in that direction. And for this one, we're just going to move it upwards as well. And then remember, you could do vertical, but I'm not going to do that, just to show y'all that you can travel along a line and such, or you can just use the gumball if you really wanted to. There you go. So if you did the very same thing that we did, so right, this is already turned in like in 45 degrees, but if we did right, selected our objects that we wanted to shear, did shear again, took from the corner, and then did -45, right? In top view, it's already an exploded axon. So when you make 2D with that, you can do it in the same one. It'll keep it nice. So since I know there will be some freshmen that are watching this, so just to have, you know, as an example, when we're going to make a new layer, what professors like a lot is having these exploded lines just to follow the trace of it. So I like that color. What you can do is when you right click this, you can turn it on or off all of these, whichever is that you need. Since we're not rendering, I have materials off, but you can also show print width, and that's for later. And then the line type is right here. So this one, it says that is continuous, but you can always change the line type the way that I think you would do it with AutoCAD and stuff. And so we're gonna do hidden lines. Sorry, that was my mom. I eat with my family. I like my family. Anyway, so this is just to show the connection of all of them. To my freshmen out there, you will always want to do something like this, so that way it just really shows the form of it. And what's a nice thing that you can do is you can type Polyline. You can trace certain aspects that you want to copy. Press enter, and then we can select it. So whenever there are two overlapping things, you can always select which one that you want, as long as, or you can just turn it off. It gets really annoying sometimes. So I'm just going to select the ones that I made. We're going to move that over here, and then we can just copy that again to the other side, and all of a sudden it looks like a really pretty axon. So that's wow, I made it in 30 minutes. Is there something that you guys want to ask me? Because that is I tried to like condense it as much as I can. You guys have questions or anything? Oh, okay. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep going. Yep, we're gonna do it. Okay, so I'm sure you guys already know. So I taught y'all make 2D, and I also taught y'all the little axon trick. But you guys probably already know the planar surface then, but it won't hurt to do it again. So we're gonna go and we're gonna zoom into this portion over here. So here, let's hide drawing. Let's make an, actually, let's use placeholder, yeah. So when you do, oh, sorry, clipping plane, it's not planar surface, clipping plane. So when you use clipping plane, what I like to do is do 3 points, because you can always do it in like different directions. What if your building is not necessarily, you know, in orthogonal view, right? And so what clipping plane does, it makes like, it's a plane that clips, quite literally. It's self-explanatory, and that really helps with any section process. So if this were like hollow or some sorts, you know, you could always just do, let's say, oh, let's hide these so that way they're not in the way. Oh no. Hide. So let's see, is this right view or so? Oh, nope, this is left view. So to change the view, you can just go back up here and then you can say set view, and we're gonna do it left. Oh, it is not showing. And the reason why it's not showing is because the clipping plane is only showing for the perspective view, but to make it show for this view, when you select your clipping plane, right, you can have it on perspective and then you can have it on, let's say, left. Okay, yeah. We're gonna change this one, set you, and we're gonna go to right. There we go. So since when you're gonna start having like multiple views of some things, it helps where you can see it in some and then you don't see it on others. What I like to do is when I did that by double clicking this, and so sometimes you can change it how you can see it. So you can see on the top view, right, the placement of it, but on, let's change this to right view. Right, it's showing it in the math section. So you would do it the same way. You'd select all of it, you would do make 2D, you would wait for it in right view, and then on top view, like, oh, there it is. Voila, you have a little section. So what if we start getting more detailed with the section and we start building with it? What I like to do is a thing called name views. So let's say this composition is already good and you're happy with it. You can go to name views and you can pull up all your little options over here. So if you don't have name views, you can just, you know, pull it up just right here. I would do save as, and let's say this is like section flat. Oh, flat. Okay. So, whoa, and you can see in this section flat that the planar surface, or like the cutting surface, is not showing. So when you're on top view, you know, or when you're on like everything, right? Let's say we all of a sudden change this to like perspective, right? But you're like, okay, I'm gonna make it exactly on section flat. You can double click that and all of a sudden you are perfectly in this, like it captures that moment that you were in. This is super helpful when you start dealing with section perspectives.
I have a perfect example of when this is really useful because I use name views as well. So let's say your professor wants you to do a specific perspective of your drawing. And you did your perspective and the professor's like, oh, I really love this, but like, it would be really great if you added 3 additional things to this like drawing. And you're like, okay, great. I'm going to go back into Rhino. I'm going to draw those extra elements. Oh, wait, I didn't save my viewpoint. So now I have to make 2D the entire image from scratch, take it back into Illustrator and redo all the graphics from scratch, because it's impossible to get that view exactly identical to the view that I showed him yesterday in Studio. But had I made a named view and saved it, I could just go back to my named view, remake 2D the additional few elements, take those few elements back into Illustrator, and I could just add them on top of where my drawing is using Control F, which is Control Paste, but exactly in the spot where it's in the image, if that makes sense. So it's a really, really helpful, really, really beneficial tool if you want to be able to build off of what you're doing and don't want to make drawings from scratch every single studio session, if you're doing your drawings in Rhino.
Yeah, it's...
I literally did that today, so it's very helpful.
Exactly like that. Yeah, like use Rhino to help, like I'm just gonna say it again and again, use it to help automate, and not like don't automate the design process, but automate the things that make it like that you want to spend more time like designing something beautiful rather than like trying to work out like the little, like, you know, I'm not explaining that very well, but
you want to spend more time actually working on designing your project than fighting Rhino back and forth because of the fact that you are struggling with the viewpoints and the gumball tool. Once you find the way that you work in Rhino really well and really efficiently, just stick to that. And if somebody teaches you something else, well then at that point switch to something else. But like find what works best for you, whether it's using the gumball tool, whether using the command tool, whether it's using the built-in Rhino commands, whether it's going into Grasshopper and creating your commands from scratch using the little text box and B-reps and surfaces and lines and points. Like just find what works best for you. But when it comes to like modeling, what I would say my biggest suggestion is to try to stick, if you're doing small stuff, to like Boolean commands, because you don't want to start doing meshes or surfaces and then trying to create objects out of them. Your Rhino is going to hate you if you have a very low level laptop, because you probably won't have the processing power for it. And B, it's just really tedious because it looks like it's going to work, and then you try to section cut it using the clipping plane, and boy, let me tell you, it's going to look terrible.
It is. And just a little warning too on clipping plane. When you use clipping plane, it's all like it will like record the lines on the back. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I know my Juan, he figured it out, but just to, like you still have to do a lot of like fixing up the line work. So it's not just like a one thing fix all, but it helps a lot. So remember these.
Your clipping plane and Make 2D are only as good as the file that you create to pull those lines from.
Exactly. So it always, so like my workflow at least is start off with the floor plan. If you don't know the heights yet, if you don't know like any sections or anything yet, just at least you have the layout on the plan. Extrude from those, try like tracing those, and it's like really easy to do that. Just start extruding from those, and then playing around with the heights. Use physical models instead of like Rhino models. You know, you don't really want to like start sketching more. Don't design entirely on a Rhino. And then afterwards, you can start doing like these really cool drawings with it, like the exploded axon or like the exploded whatever. Or you can do like a perspective section axon explosion. You can get really creative with it, as long as you remember that you have to design outside on your own, rather than with the argument of designing on Revit, and that's another rabbit hole. But anyway, so that is the basic run through of this. This was actually made for freshmen, so I see that you guys are actually just second years. So if you guys have any questions specifically on how to do things, like feel free to like ask us. We can help with that. Any questions? Maritza, I see you there. I'm gonna be here. Let's see, what else can I teach y'all? I went a little fast. I hope I still have like time. You guys can, okay, so here, you guys want to make some low poly trees? Let's do that. Let's populate the space with with trees. Okay, so we're gonna make the placeholder a little lighter green because I don't really like that green. So we're gonna do sphere, and then you can just make your little like ball that you want to make, and then we're gonna make just a little bit more. So we're gonna oops, no, not that. We're gonna do copy, and we're just gonna copy it around or whatnot, and we can just change it, move it around, or anything. Let's say we want this. When you use the gumball, you can hold shift and then it'll make it like bigger, smaller, like throughout the whole thing. This one, like, gumball helps sometimes, gumball doesn't help sometimes. It's always like an ongoing argument, but you know, it's up to the designer and up to the user, really. So let's say that is our really weird tree, but that's the form that we want. Essentially, and then let's say, so you take those, we're going to do the Bullion Union. Oh no, it yeeted it out. So sometimes whenever you do those, it creates these really strange forms, and they're not correct, they're wrong per se, and so that's because something is geometrically not correct with them. So there are ways to fix it, but I'm not going to go into that yet. We're going to do Bullion Union again. So it basically combined these into one weird looking atom looking thing. And so what you can do with this is you can select your form and you can do mesh. There are ways to change the specifications, but I like going with fewer polygons if we're going to make like a little low poly tree or something. And we're going to just do enter, and then I could just move this form over. And so here, let me explain the difference between these two. This one's a mesh and this one's a poly surface. Poly surfaces and other surfaces in general on Rhino are usually, they use a thing called NURBS. The difference between with AutoCAD, right, they use meshes in AutoCAD, whereas like in Rhino they use NURBS mainly. So NURBS, think of taking a bunch of lines and calculating, like, it's like some like calculus thing, and like, you know, if you guys are into like derivatives and whatnot, that's what's happening with this one. And so that's why sometimes your files can get really, really, really big. And so when you're starting to do like topography stuff, it might help to convert it into a mesh, you know. And so then we have this one, and then we can do, when we select our mesh, we can do I think it was called reduce mesh. Quite literally reducing the mesh. We're gonna reduce it. we're gonna make it look funny. We're gonna do like 400. Okay. Let's preview. And we gotta wait for it to do. And that's how it looks like. Isn't it cute? We're gonna reduce it even more. Maybe let's do like 120. Preview. So, what is basically happening with meshes, and this in general, and this is like a good segue into, is that meshes, the difference between that, NURBS and a mesh, is that meshes, it has an array or like a field of points, and then it tries to calculate like the distances between those. So if you guys remember doing the Voronoi in your first year, that's essentially the kind of like the idea with it. And then it would make these polygons based on those points. And so we're basically just reducing the amount of fields of points. And then, like, you know, the higher the points are, or the higher the polygons, obviously, the more detailed the shape is, right? Where you're like, okay, wait for it to do its thing, because it's doing some math. And then there you have it. A really strange looking, low poly tree cloud. And then if you really wanted to, you can just like make a little, you know, make a thingy and then make it extrude, but that's all the way there. We're gonna move this. Oh, okay. I like, oh, that is really small. Okay. So there, that's your tree without a trunk, with just a tree. So that's just like going into the basics of like what nerves is versus a mesh is. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't know if we have any questions, but I'll give my secret tip that always people seem to forget is that people outside of college at UH love to 3D model and will put their 3D modeled objects online. So sometimes what I do if I'm in a last minute rush and I don't want to create my own trees, or if I don't want to create my own shrubs, is I'll literally go onto Google and I'll type in shrub STL model free, or like tree STL model free, because normally people who 3D print stuff, they'll upload their files as STLs. If, like, for example, Jolene wanted to 3D print her beautiful COAD building, she could export her file as an STL, send it to somebody with a 3D printer, and they could make her a mini COAD. So if you type in like STL files, or if you go to like Thingiverse, you can find tons of stuff. Like, let's say my project right now, we're doing it on the Bayou. So let's say I wanted to add a cargo ship into my 3D model so that instead of having to like draw it, when I do make 2D, it like gives me the outlines of the ship. It's a really cool thing. Your professors are always going to be impressed by it, and it's zero effort. You just import the file. So it's always fun to like look around and like find stuff that you can add in to like make your drawing more realistic.
And like, I like you. That's just that almost goes back to like automating things. Yes, you as a designer, you have to think about designing everything, little aspects of it, you know, other things like that. But when you want to focus on something, like, you can't design for everything. You can't solve every problem. So pick the problems that you want to solve for and then design for that. So that's that. Maria brings up like a really good point about that. So yeah, it's a good secret. Let's see. Yeah, feel free to ask us any questions or whatnot. Anybody have a question? Want to learn something? I have like, we have until 7:30, or you guys can just talk. If you guys in the meantime, oh yeah, how I printed this, how to get like these dimensions. When do you have, I guess I'm just gonna talk about this one. Okay, top view. What's nice about Rhino is that there's a lot of like forums that you guys can go on to, and like it will tell you like a lot of information, you know, how to solve things. You know, plugins are really important, especially when you're doing Grasshopper and stuff. I know several plugins that I know. Ladybug, it helps with sun diagrams and like sun analysis. I think, I forgot, Elk.
Yeah, I like to use Elk whenever I'm doing a topography because it's really cool. You can go online to OpenStreetMaps, download the file as an OSM file, and then plug it into Elk, and it'll give you your topography as well as all of the roads and everything else. It's really cool. It's a really easy plugin to use in Grasshopper. But there's also a ton of other plugins. Like if you go to, I think it's Rhino for something.
Yeah, Rhino. It's like foods for Rhino. Or
Foods
something.
for Rhino. Yeah,
Yeah.
Foods for Rhino. You'll find tons of plugins. I remember at some point there was one that I was playing around with one summer, and it was called like PedSim, and you could like drop people into your floor plan and see how they would move throughout the space and if there were any bottlenecks. So there's tons of stuff that you could find.
Just think of it like this is like, because Grasshopper is like a really nice way to start doing really cool like parametric things. If you guys haven't taken the class digital vocabulary, you know, and if you want to like go more into it, I know Gonzalez and Jackson teach it right now, and I love those guys. But yeah, like it's, if you guys really wanted to like go onwards into that, like I'm a true advocate of Grasshopper, even though like I'm not a pro at it. You know, it's always fun to like learn it by yourself. I know some of our professors actually learned it all by themselves. Like no classes or really anything, they would just like teach themselves, and that's kind of where we are right now, like just learning things on our own and making tutorials for people while we're learning it too. So yeah. Oh, also on this, what I just did, you select all of it, and if you press your little thingy again, you could just go like that, and then this basically creates the group already, and then you can like, it makes the form along with the group. So yeah, that's cool about Grasshopper. To make those annotations, I'm sorry, I'm going like everywhere because I went overtime or under time. What you can do is dimensions, or just dim actually, and then you can create. It's pretty much like it makes an annotation of it, and you can notice that that's super huge because the scale is super huge. So I like this one. It depends on your scale. Just play around with that. What's a problem with it sometimes is if this happens here. Let's just, is this one? Yeah, this is a one. So we're gonna disable. Okay, cool. The problem with this one is that when you do dim and you wanted this direction, it's going to show it like that way. It's going to show that distance instead of the actual angle of it. And so what you want to do is dim, I think, angle. Yeah, there you go. Oh wait, no. Dim. I am blanking. Aligned. There it is. Because essentially it's aligning with it. I know your buildings are not always going to be, you know, and now we know that that distance is about 2.5 inches. There we go. You guys have any questions or want us to do something in the future, like feel free. I always want to help.
Yeah, for example, really quickly, if anybody has any future tutorial requests, our last one's going to be Illustrator. But if you are interested in Photoshop, if you're interested in ArcGIS, anything, like we'll find a way to help you guys out.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in like InDesign, I'm actually learning that like super speed, and I love InDesign, so feel free to like request that. Like we are ready to teach it. I saw you talking, Juan. You may like ask your question if you wanted to.
Okay, I was just waiting. Oh yeah, you mentioned Ladybug. What is that for?
Ladybug is essentially so up here on Grasshopper, it's going to show your plugins. Here, let's see if I could just like okay, if I go a little over time, let's see. I think it's called Food for Rhino. There we go.
Oh,
and if you
okay.
go to the site, Food for Rhino, it's pretty much just going to show you a bunch of these plugins. You're going to download the plugin, but Ladybug is specifically for sun analysis. So if you made like a facade that has, you know, things that are like holes in it, or, you know, it was moving and stuff, you can basically analyze how much sun and heat is going through your facade. And it's really cool. Like
Another
if you
really
get, like,
nice thing is, for example, Juan, let's say you set a named view inside of your building. You could then go into the named view and then through Ladybug, see how much sun is getting into certain spaces at certain times of day. So with windows and everything.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
that.
yeah, it's super cool. Like, wow.
Also, like
It's
sun
fun.
diagrams.
Yeah, kind of. Let's see. See, it'll show the sun diagram. It'll show like the heat analysis of the object that you're doing it. Like it takes a little bit of like, more nodes and whatnot, but like it's fun to like play around with it. I personally don't have it yet, but I know a lot of friends, or actually just one friend who who is getting more in detail with it. So if you guys want to check that out, you guys should. Please learn Grasshopper. It's fun. It's really fun. Any other questions? Here you guys can see the example. Like, oh, isn't it cool? Any other questions? Pretty much we're done. So y'all can.
Again, thank you so much for coming to join us.
Yeah.
This is Jolene. She's a brother of Alpha Rho Chi. I'm not on video right now because I'm just like running around the house in and out. But my name's Maria. I'm president of the organization. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to have another tutorial where we're going to take the AutoCAD file, we're going to print it. We're going to take the Rhino file, we're going to print it. And then we're going to take it both into Illustrator and we're going to do Illustrator graphics. So if you'd like to learn more about the ins and outs of Illustrator and Adobe in general, go join us then. Also, if you'd like to re-watch any of this, we're going to finish the recording once we all log out, and then we're going to upload the video to our Alpha Rho Chi Cleisthenes YouTube channel, where in addition to that, we also have playlists on anything you can imagine, whether it's SketchUp, Rhino, AutoCAD, Illustrator, handcraft modeling making. We have playlists on that from other amazing YouTubers who have already done all the work. So you can check out our playlists and learn a lot more. But yeah, we're super excited. If you have any suggestions for further tutorials like InDesign or Photoshop or ArcGIS, like I think we'd love to do some more. So just shoot us a DM on Instagram or shoot us an email. We'd love to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I think I really like. Oh, we might do like an InDesign one. We're gonna discuss it, but I feel like it'll be really fun. So yeah. I think
Thank
that's
you.
it. Yeah, thank you for coming. Woo. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Stop share. There we go. I think this is adjourned. Meeting adjourned, I guess.
Yeah, thank you so much. You guys are free to go.